What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm doing the list I've been dreading because it's the hardest list to do this year, honestly. Um, but I'm running out of lists before I get to my top pictures of 2024, which most people have already dropped. But I don't know. I wanted to do some acting and directing and other categories before. So I've done literally everything else. I did actor, I did director, first time feature, supporting actor, supporting actress. I have a documentary list. I have original score. Um, I have most underrated films of the year. I have films that I wish it had audio description. All those things. So I have two categories left after this that I plan on doing. I might do animated feature, but I don't even. My problem is finding like a solid 10, and I can't even really do that right now. Like, I'm not happy with a top 10. I don't think there were 10 good animated features last year that I saw, so I don't think I'm gonna do an animated feature list. Um, but it's a really sad year for animation. And yeah. So like two lists left: audio description, best audio description of the year, and best films of the year. After this is best actress. A couple of notes. I am blind. I'm a blind film critic. These are just my thoughts. I have no voting body that voted along with me. So when I get to who my pick for best actress of the year is, which you have to wait for the whole long ass video to get there, uh, I hope you'll be pleasantly surprised and enjoy it. I hope some of my reasoning, I'll try to say. I have a lot of names on here because I just kind of said fuck it at a certain point because there were so many actresses that I had pulled out. Basically every time I find an actress that I kind of like, I put them on like a master list. There's just like a long ass list of names. And I kept cutting. I was like, I don't know how to cut to 20. My other lists have been like top tens with like 10 honorable mentions. And I couldn't do that here. There were so many great actress performances this year. Um, Even some ones where I would say I would nominate that for an Oscar, but I do want to say that was a really good performance. I don't want to completely cut somebody off of the list just because they're a great actress and they've done 10 other better performances, but that one was still great. They just are a very consistent actress. So there are performances in films that I loved that nobody else really saw or liked, and I wanted to keep those in. I will address the room and say there are only three Academy Award nominated actresses in my list this year. Missing Fernanda Torres. I'm Still Here is not on my list. It's not a slight. It's not an intentional slight. Does not mean I don't like her performance. When I was given I'm Still Here as a screener, it did not have the audio description track, and I have not ventured out yet to see a movie I've technically already sat through once. It's hard for me to pull her performance out of a film that's not in the English language when it's given to me without the accessibility that I need. So because Sony Pictures Classics, when they sent out their screeners, did not attach an audio description track to it, I do not have her on here. She very likely would make my list later on. It would be sometimes as a blind person trying to interpret where performances that are in another language would end up is tough anyway, because sometimes we get a dub. So we get a dub cast, I get a dub performance. Which helps me understand the movie, so overall, but as a performer, it's almost like she's getting an assist. So even with that, I don't know where Fernanda Torres would end up on my list. The person I intentionally left off is Carla Sofia Gascon. Uh, I, yeah, I originally, I was all about it. And then some of those tweets I can't get past. So, as much as I would love to stand by our first transgender acting nominee, there's some really gross things in there. And they're affecting her directly this season. I have a little bit of problem with some of the things Cynthia Erivo has said in the past. Um, and it did definitely, it colors everything that I see her with now. Uh, some of the statements that she made but that came out in around Harriet, when she was campaigning for Harriet, which was years ago. So, not a giant fan, but I did leave Cynthia on here, and I tried to be as neutral about that performance as possible. Anyway, without further ado, moving up the list. Starting at the bottom, we're just going to work our way really quickly through. It's more than I have a lot of honorable mentions on here. So we're going to start off with the first name I just couldn't get rid of because I think I'm the only person who likes the movie and it just needs to be said. And that's Kathryn Newton for Lisa Frankenstein. And I like this movie. Like, it's been floating near my top. It wasn't perfect. I thought she was good in it. And I like Zelda Williams as sort of like quirky choices. Lisa Frankenstein has shown up now on actress, supporting actress, and first time feature. So not bad for a movie that I think most people forgot even existed to begin with. So moving up the list. Samara Weaving for Azriel. This is, I mean, she basically is the movie. I think she's the only character that was named in Azriel. It's her for the whole movie. And I was sitting there while I was making cuts. I was sitting there and I had two very similar performances. I had Lupita Nyong'o for Quiet Place Day One and Samara Weaving. And I was like, you know what? A Quiet Place Day One is a good movie without Lupita. Like, the movie works without her. Azriel doesn't work without Samara Weaving. It needs like a singular performance because the movie itself is less interesting than A Quiet Place Day One is. And Lupita just sort of puts that extra cherry on top. I think if Azriel didn't have a central character in it that was a good actress, I don't know. The movie's fine. You know what I'm saying? Great audio description, but I think Samara's carrying that movie on her back. Moving up the list. Naomi Aoki for Blink Twice. Again, I liked Blink Twice. Blink Twice has appeared on first time feature, director. I did put Zoe Kravitz on my director list somewhere. I'm not saying she won anything. Yeah, so it's been on a couple other lists so far this year, and Naomi is making this list. So moving up the list. Julianne Moore for The Room Next Door. It was a great performance. Basically, her and the next one up, Tilda Swinton, for The Room Next Door. Just put them back to back. They're basically the same. That's why it's so hard to pick one over the other. They're basically giving great performances. They both have great scenes. They both have their own moments, you know what I'm saying, in that movie. So to try to pick one over the other, I think they're both campaigned for lead. I don't think they were split. I don't think they sent one down to the doldrums of supporting actress, which is why the campaign became a little bit tougher, because I think Tilda was being submitted for supporting in other films, and Julianne probably is technically the lead. It would have been a tough sell to shove her down to supporting. So, I don't know. Again, both of these actresses have done better films this year. I liked Tilda a little bit more in Problemista, just because it gave her a little bit of a different flavor. But Pedro Almodovar's Room Next Door is certainly a good film, and it deserves to be watched and enjoyed. It did kind of get forgotten this award season, but I wanted to recognize these actresses on a longer list. Moving up. Kate Winslet for Lee. I've seen this movie twice. Neither time had audio description. Funnily enough. And I watched it once for consideration, and then once because somebody else wanted to watch it, and it still didn't have audio description. I was like, okay. Anyway, weird thing is this movie does have an audio description track. I just don't know how to find it, or where it is, or how to use it, or get a hold of it, or how to rope that in. The thing, when we started doing the Andrea Riseborough thing for her, I started disliking her more, and just being like, no. It was fine when you did it for Andrea, because it gave me hope that we might do that for other actresses who have been working in the business for a long time. A couple of years ago, I had, was it 2022? My best actress of the year was Dale Dickey for Love Song. And that was such a out of left field pick, but Dale has never been given a film like that where she's the lead character, and she's been around forever. And I thought she gave such a beautifully nuanced performance, but nobody talked about it. Nobody cared about it. Nobody, I think she was nominated at the Gothams and then it just went away. And then Andrea happened, and I'm like, okay, if we're gonna do this, fine, then let's help elevate the unsung actresses and actors when they're in things, because there's so many of them that deserve to be Academy Award nominees. I'm a big fan of Brian Cox. He's never been nominated for an Oscar. We loved him in Succession, but we can't find a film to nominate him for. So, but Kate Winslet's fine. She's been nominated multiple times. She didn't need Lee. She was never going to win the Oscar for Lee. It was such a misguided opportunity to try to get her a nomination for this. Moving up the list. She's good in it, though. It's just, I mean, she basically is the movie. So, movie. The next is Saoirse Ronan for The Outrun. I think Saoirse has had better performances this year. I think I did end up not putting her on for Blitz. I did find it easier to cut to 20 with that. I rewatched The Outrun, and that helped Saoirse make this list, because I actually did not get my screener with audio description, and I found it later with audio description. So I've seen this movie twice, and the second time through made me appreciate her performance a little bit more. I don't really love the movie that much, which is one of her problems as to why she couldn't really get off the ground this year. But I think I still reminded me that I like other performances of hers more. But there are other things I'd rather watch her be in and wish that she could have won for that instead. So, moving up the list. Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl. Again, everything I'm saying, and especially with Nicole this year, it's like, dude, you're in everything. You're in like so many, at the same time, I'm like watching Baby Girl, and she's also the voice in Spellbound, and she's the voice of the queen in Spellbound, and she's in Lioness. She had just had that Netflix limited series where she's the author. She did the Netflix movie earlier in the year with Zac Efron. She was in Expats. It's like Nicole was too much. I had too much Nicole in 2024 for me to like singularly care about any one performance. Is she good in Baby Girl? Yeah. Would it have been her best performance? Maybe, if it was the only thing I saw of Nicole. But I felt like I personally knew Nicole in 2024. Like, we were friends. Like, I called her up on the weekends and we were like, hey girl, what's up? I just saw so much Nicole Kidman in 2024. Anyway, next up. Ilana Glazer for Babes. This one I really wanted to leave on because, again, Michelle Buteau just didn't make the cut for supporting actress, and it's tough because you want to recognize comedy when it's good, and it's hard to always get it on there because there's so many great dramatic performances, and it's really hard to make sure that a comedic performance gets recognized. And Ilana Glazer, I think, really did an excellent job of being comedic and dramatic, and I love Babes. So I'm keeping Ilana Glazer on this list. Moving up the list. Regina King for Shirley. We totally forgot about this performance. This was something that people were like, maybe this will happen last year in 2023. The test screenings came back. Movie wasn't that great. And then Netflix pushed the movie to 2024. But when they did so, they also forgot that the test screenings said Regina King was good. I don't think they ever ran a campaign for this. I think she was just let put out to pasture to die, I think. Nobody came back around to this movie. I remembered her. She was on my list all year long. When I was done seeing Shirley, I put Regina King for Shirley on here. This is the only place I've put Shirley, in any other. It's nowhere else on any of my lists. But Regina King for Shirley, yes. Good job. Moving up the list. Ryan Destiny for The Fire Inside. I like the fact that she's gotten a couple breakthrough performance nominations or awards over the season. She's popped up in a couple places. Maybe it'll help us see more of her in the future. I thought she did a really good job here. It's a pretty self-explanatory choice. She was always on the fringe, and this was just a really tough year for her to get in for The Fire Inside. Doesn't mean she's not good. Just means this is a bitch of a year for actresses to get in. Moving up the list. Anya Taylor-Joy for Furiosa. Could have used maybe a little bit more dialogue, and she's also, it's tough to say like who is the lead. She's like half the other half of the movie, but the little girl is the other half. Furiosa, I've seen it twice. It's appeared so far on director, supporting actress, I want to say score. So it's appeared on supporting actor, a couple lists. So Furiosa, even though it's not Mad Max Fury Road, and I prefer that movie, I still liked Furiosa. I especially actually liked it more the second time around. Um, so yeah, it reinforced the fact that, you know, after you, I get kind of let down being like, oh, it's not Fury Road. Then I watched it the second time. I was like, yeah, it's a good movie. You know, I think I was expecting Fury Road or something at that kind of pitch, and it just wasn't that. But it is a good movie. So I feel like Anya Taylor-Joy will one day get an Oscar nomination. I feel like that's a truth that I can say about her that I can't say about a lot of other actresses that I've mentioned already who haven't been nominated yet. Moving up the list, Amy Adams for Night Bitch. When I've seen this movie twice. The first time I saw it was without audio description, and my initial thought was, "This is an Amy Adams movie. This whole movie is her. This is basically just her." That's the takeaway. Marielle Heller wrote a nice script for her to read great lines. The movie doesn't work. Rewatched the movie with audio description, felt the same way. Felt even stronger about Amy Adams carrying a movie that is odd, to say the least. And I love Amy, and I hope she wins one day. And I one of my most egregious Oscar snubs, I will always say, is Arrival for her. She should have been nominated for Arrival. I think that might actually be my favorite performance of Amy's throughout her career. I'm also a huge fan of Arrival. It's like way up there in my film list. But yeah, I didn't need this Oscar nomination for her. I wouldn't be mad at it, but I don't want this to be her win either. So I want it to be for something great. When Amy wins one day, we don't need to just keep giving her nominations. I could have taken some away. Like, she doesn't need Veep, you know, or Vice, sorry. Vice. There's a couple, she could go down a couple nominations and gain Arrival. Trade some and then gain Arrival. Anyway, moving up the list. Kristen Stewart for Love Lies Bleeding. I don't always love Kristen as an actress, but I do like to point out when I do. I'm like, so that way it always feels like I'm saying, don't do that, do this, don't do that, do this, you know, stay away from those, but do this. Yeah, she's such an uneven actress, but she has glimmers of greatness, and she's fantastic in Love Lies Bleeding. I think people just kind of slept on that movie later on in the year. We just forgot it ever existed and forgot it was good. Love Lies Bleeding has appeared also on supporting actress and supporting actor for me. And also more broadly on my top 10 horror movies of the year. Was in the honorable mentions, I guess, because it's kind of like a horror movie. So, yeah, Love Lies Bleeding. So, moving up the list to Zendaya for Challengers. Seen this twice. Liked it both times. I don't think it's as horny as everybody says it is. I think Zendaya has had stronger performances before, and I think she is an actress who she might get an Oscar nomination later. It's really hard to look at her work in Euphoria and say Challengers is on that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not on the same level as what she's giving on TV, which is one of the reasons why she had a hard time getting off the ground, is because I think Euphoria is still right in people's memory, and there is going to be a season 3. She's going to come back, and she's going to remind people what her true potential is, and we're just waiting for her to get that kind of role. No more Dunes or Spider-Mans or anything like that. We need her, like, to be given full latitude like she is on Euphoria. But she is really good in Challengers. And like the movie Challengers has been on my director, actor, actress, supporting actor, score, all those lists it's made thus far. Moving up the list. Kerry Washington for the 688. Yeah, I hate Tyler Perry movies, but this was very average. A little bit better than it was the best film he made last year, but that's not saying much. I didn't like the rest of the cast. I didn't like the rest of the girls. I thought they were all just sort of generically awful actresses, and every white character came in to just play like a typical, like, I'm Southern racist. Look at me doing my thing here. And then in the middle of this movie was this one performance, and I didn't know it was Kerry Washington. I really didn't. I knew this was a Tyler Perry movie going into it, and then I just clicked on it. I was like, it's a Tyler Perry movie, god damn it. But I was like, who is it? Who is this? Who is this performance? I never thought it was Kerry Washington. Made it to the end of the movie, went to IMDb page, looked, saw it was Kerry Washington. I was like, are you kidding me? Because to be honest, I like Kerry as an actress. I do. I think she sometimes kind of gets into one-note roles, and it feels like she's constantly been chasing scandal. I've seen her do things where she's like, that was all right. You know, what was it, Little Fires Everywhere? I thought she was okay in that. Like, she wasn't, like, my favorite performer in that. Um, and Unprisoned, I thought Delroy Lindo was sort of the takeaway from that. I thought she was okay. The role just wasn't really written that well for her. So she kind of gets stuck in these weird things. And here she is in 6AAA being like a boss, just completely dominating a Tyler Perry movie. Like, no actress has ever dominated. I haven't seen an actress dominate a Tyler Perry movie like this since, like, what, Taraji P. Henson? For, like, I Can Do That All By Myself? Like, probably since that. When you see an actress show up to a movie that the movie isn't showing up for them. Also, Kimberly Elise in the original, way back in the day, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, she was fantastic in that. Sometimes people are able to pull a great performance out of a Tyler Perry movie without Tyler Perry pulling a great movie out of it. And in those cases, I thought and here comes Kerry Washington in a performance where I was like, I didn't even know it was you. Congratulations. That was a fantastic performance. So yeah, she's making my list. I'm standing up for her. She deserves to have more attention for this performance. Moving up the list. Angelina Jolie for Maria. I've seen this movie twice. She moved up the list after the second time. I liked it a little bit more. I found her nuances a little bit more effective. She is, that's her voice is being AI'd with the original Maria Callas voice, so we can't give her quite Timothée Chalamet points for doing her own singing. So, but she has a lot of great, really emotional beats to it. Of the performers, of the actresses, I was like, well, you've all been nominated before. None of this is your best work. You know, her, Kate, Amy, Tilda, Julianne, the actress, Nicole, all the actresses that we've lauded before. None of that's your best work. We didn't need any of these nominations this year. But I think Angelina Jolie is probably the best of them, and the one that I would have hated the most if they had been nominated. But her performance, just didn't get any traction. I liked it better than Spencer, though. I still stand by that. I like Maria better than Spencer as a movie. So, moving up the list. Kiki Layne for Dandelion. If you haven't seen Dandelion, you should. She's really good in this, and the movie really resonated for me. I know a lot of people who, I work in sort of in and around music professionals and people who go to school for music, and then the grind of being a gig artist and going from and trying to find a steady job, and your pay fluctuates, and people try to undercut you because they think you're not worth that, or especially as a singer, you're like, well, you're a singer. Is it really, I don't know. I know so many very talented real estate agents who can sing their faces off, and they gave up because the industry just kind of pushes them that way, and their degree is in vocal performance. And they went to great schools and they're in debt for this, and they just didn't want to bounce around from gig to gig, and that's kind of what Kiki's experiencing here. So I thought the movie was really well done, and I thought Kiki gave a great performance. She's playing somebody who's like about my age, and she's going through this sort of like crisis where she's like, do I really, and she's being pushed by her mother in the film, you know, is it time to give up on being somebody who just performs in bars? You know, am I ever going to make it? Am I ever going to have a sustainable career doing this? So, breakthrough performer. I hope more people see her. Moving up the list. Vera Drew for The People's Joker. So I do have a trans actress on here. Surprise! It's Vera Drew. Vera Drew deserves to be getting all the praise that Carlos Gascon. If we could spot those at the Oscars real quick, that'd be great. Vera is a creative tsunami. People's Joker is my favorite film of the year without audio description. Hands down. I put Vera individually. This is the third time I've put Vera on a list as a person. She's on my first time feature list and she's on my directors of the year list. The People's Joker is such a bold statement. Just the fact that you can come in and you parody, and the fact that as a first time feature that she takes on sort of DC and actually uses Gotham and is like, no, I'm fair use, the parody, you know, and also puts forth this really personal story, and then she stars in it, and she's engaging. This is the kind of movie that we need right now. This is the hero we need right now. What's that? That's that line, right? Yeah. She I guess she's gonna die a hero because she's not gonna live long enough to see herself become a villain. I'm trying to pull out more Batman quotes. But yeah, I love Vera Drew on here. This is another example of me being able to fit in a comedic performance, largely comedic anyway, performance. Moving up the list to Lily Rose Depp for Nosferatu. I think Lily proved this year in a big way that she's not a Nepo baby. Even though people would try to be like, you're a Nepo baby. It's like, no, she can actually act. That was a really good performance. I hope to see more from her in the future. And I'm glad that she's out there doing this. I'm glad that she's out there working and killing the game. I had another one on a longer list. Maya Hawke was on a much longer list. She was on like a massive list of names for Wildcat, and I just ended up losing her too. But not everybody's a Nepo baby, man. Some people are really good actresses. So I love Nosferatu. It's made my director, actor, score, horror films lists, all of those lists. It won one of them. Watch my other videos and find out which one it won. It's won something. I've given Nosferatu an award. Moving up the list. Phoebe Ray Taylor for Out of My Mind. I kind of mentioned this in another video because Out of My Mind is also on most underrated films of the year, because I don't think anybody actually saw this, that Phoebe is the kind of actress that Hollywood loves to pull out for one movie and then never use again. Like, where's Troy? Where's Troy Kotsur from Coda? Where is he? He should be everywhere. He just won an Oscar. Where is he? Like, why aren't people writing projects for him? You know, Troy Kotsur should be like ubiquitous. But instead it feels more like it was a Monique thing where he won and then Hollywood ghosted him. So, and I think the same thing's gonna happen to Adam Pearson. I think Adam Pearson, like, it's great. Yeah, he got some nominations in some places. Now the challenge, Hollywood, is, are you going to actually cast Phoebe Ray Taylor again? Are you actually going to cast Adam Pearson again? Are you going to find roles for these people? Because they're showing up for you when you need them. The girl that was in All the Light We Cannot See, where'd she go? You know, so it's like, I don't know. I mean, I understand it's a great opportunity for Phoebe, and she gets to be in her own movie, and she was phenomenal. And I'm glad that she got to share her journey and her experience and be somebody with the same disability as her character and share what that's like. I thought this was the strongest sort of representation that we got in cinema this year was through Phoebe Ray-Taylor, especially considering Disney also put out Blink, which has nothing to say and does nothing for a disabled community. It just makes us seem like we're all going to die, and that's why we need bucket lists. It has no solutions. It doesn't ever tell you like what the future lies hold for those kids. It just assumes, I guess, that they're one day just dead. I don't know. I guess the cast of Blink died. I have no idea. The movie's terrible. Anyway, but this is a brilliant performance from a young actress who deserves all the praise in the world, and I hope she gets some. Moving up the list. Lucy Boynton for the greatest hits. I've had this on my list all year long. This performance got me, even though the film was okay. It was okay. It wasn't. It was a little problematic. Like it tripped over itself a couple times. But I thought Lucy was really good in it, and it was sort of a precursor to a better performance that we get from Naomi Scott, where you sort of see somebody who is sort of losing their touch with reality. Lucy's a little bit more firmly in place and a little bit more in control, but she's going through some stuff, clearly. And I thought Lucy dealt with grief openly really well in the greatest hits. So check it out if you have a chance. It's on Hulu. It's one of the better straight to Hulu things we got this year. So moving up the list. June Squibb for Thelma. Who doesn't love this performance? This performance is like, like the warm hug of the year. Like, who wasn't rooting for June Squibb at some point? Like, man, she's 96. She's got her first lead role. I liked her better in Thelma than I did in Nebraska. I also thought she was really good in Palmer. If you ever get a chance to watch it, that's on Apple Plus with Justin Timberlake. And she's great in Thelma. It's a quirky, cute little comedy. It's like a John Wick action movie. And it did really well over the summer. So I'm so happy to have her on the list. And again, I'm glad I got to keep comedic performances on here, because this is largely a comedic one. Yeah, it has some serious moments to it, but it's lighthearted. Early on in the year, I was really hoping she'd be one of the 5 for actress, and that this would be like a career defining moment for her. And that we'd all just, I feel like, when I didn't think Demi Moore was going to happen, I thought like this would be the thing everybody would rally behind as an actor, just getting to see June Squibb at the Oscars in lead actress. But yeah, it just couldn't materialize. Moving on the list. Naomi Scott for Smile 2. The Astros did it, and I was like, why not? Because she's great in Smile 2. She's losing her absolute mind the whole time. She was already clearly in distress before the smile thing gets to her. And this is coming from somebody, and I mentioned this because I have Smile 2 is also on my best horror films of the year, and also director on the longer list of, it's an honorable mention, because I didn't like Smile. I thought it was cheap. I thought it was just a whole bunch of jump scares, and I didn't see any talent. And then Parker was given, and he knew it was going to be theatrical, and he was given the opportunity to come back, and the expectation was, how are you going to do this? What are you going to do differently? And he actually directed a good movie. He actually put character in here. He actually found an actress who could give depth. This is the girl from Aladdin. Like, I wasn't expecting this from her. I wasn't expecting this level of performance. I thought she was fantastic. Great. We had a lot of great horror performances this year. This was a great year for horror. And Naomi Scott, I know she's never going to get close to the Oscars, but the fact that she got mentioned anywhere, I hope she knows how big that is. So, moving up the list. Mikey Madison for Nora. Yeah, it's not my favorite performance of the year. I've seen Nora twice. I like Mikey. I love Mikey in it. It does feel like she's arriving. It feels like we're going to get more from Mikey in the future. I mean, she does kind of carry the movie if you're thinking about it from an acting perspective, but Sean Baker really carries that movie. The movie is really what it is based on the script, based on the editing, based on the direction of Sean Baker. You forget that I think people they're giving her a lot of credit because it's just a dynamic performance. She's very loud, she's funny, and she has a sort of a great moment at the end that brings it all together. Sean Baker wrote, directed, and edited the same movie. Probably produced it too. He's probably listed as a producer. I'm gonna guess he did everything. He's like a one man band. So when people say Mikey Madison is Honora, no, Sean Baker is Honora. Sean Baker is all of his movies. He just happens to bring in the right talent. Um, so yeah, I like Mikey Madison, and I'm perfectly fine with her nomination. Like I'm happy with it being there. I wouldn't be too mad if she won. Like I don't. Yeah, I just I'd be a little surprised. She's young. I feel like the prize is being nominated, being able to use that to fuel your career forward. I don't think many people knew who Mikey Madison was before Honora, unless you're just like a massive Scream fan and you just memorize everybody's name who was ever in the cast of a Scream movie. But anyway, moving up the list. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. I think I mentioned this with when I said with Ariana Grande because I put Wicked, even though I love the movie, and it's still got at least one more list ahead of it. It's really only appeared on supporting actress. So I mentioned with Ariana Grande is when she's on supporting actress. Spoiler alert, by the way. I didn't say she won. You're gonna have to watch this list to figure out who won. But I said that Ariana, one of the reasons why she's getting a little bit more traction than Cynthia is because with the Elphabas, there are like a bunch of Elphabas throughout the years that Wicked fans have sort of curated their lists of like who their favorite Elphabas who are not Idina Menzel are over the years, because it's been a launching pad for so many amazingly talented vocalists. Whereas Glinda, a little bit less so. It's Glinda has always just sort of been associated with Kristen Chenoweth. I'm not gonna say that there aren't actresses who have passed through Glinda, but not to the same extent that they passed through Elphaba. So Ariana was able to immediately sort of jump to comparison with one person instead of comparison the Elphaba thing. Like, I'm sure because we have assholes out there on the internet all the time who are like, the message. I love that guy. The message. You know, she's Black Elphaba. The message. She's not even the first Black Elphaba. Did you know that? She didn't break a glass ceiling here. That's not a unique casting choice. That's been done already. She can't even claim that. So, for people who are like, oh, that was woke, they made the Wicked Witch of the West, that just means you don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, Cynthia had a much she had an uphill battle to really sort of stand out, and I really loved her performance. I thought she sang the fuck out of everything, and I like Cynthia. I wish she would get rid of social media and hire a new publicist. Those are the things that she needs in her personal life. Um, but because I root for her, I liked her when she did Jason Bourne Brown's Last 5 Years. She did a revival of that. It was nice. And of course, The Color Purple. I wish she had actually. I mean, I loved Fantasia in the movie, but I kind of also wanted it to be Cynthia because hers was great. She's a very talented actress and then a very gifted singer, and I root for her. There was one time where she stood up, and it was a scene in Wicked where Dr. Dillon is being pulled away, and the line delivery just didn't work for me. It was like, isn't anybody going to do anything? I was like, girl, you need more fire. Like, you need a little bit. I know your whole thing is about like controlling your emotions, but I just wanted that line to have a little bit more kick to it, just a little bit more. You know, a little bit more of desperation, not a little, not, it felt a little bit like I'm looking at a green screen. I can't actually really see Dr. Dillman being pulled off. Somebody's carrying Peter Dinklage off stage, and I don't know what that looks like. Um, yeah, it felt disconnected to me. But other than that, the rest of the performance was fantastic, superb. Best case scenario, Elphaba. Moving up the list. Alicia Vikander for Firebrand. I think I'm the only person who saw this movie. I've loved her performance like all year long. If you know Henry VIII, then the movie, maybe the musical Six, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Well, this is the last wife of Henry VIII, so spoiler alert. But Six has taught us, what happens. And it's Alicia Vikander and Jude Law. And I wish this is one of those things where I just wish, I don't know what happened with it. They're both great actors. The movie maybe isn't the most interesting movie, but that shouldn't take away from performers. It's not a bad movie either. Like, it's a good movie. Were there better movies that felt like they were directed by auteurs? Sure. This is definitely an actor-led movie. But through that, we should have, by the end of the year, remembered that Alicia Vikander and Jude Law were in a really good movie this year. Anyway, moving up the list. And it's made both my actress and supporting actor lists as a result. Florence Pugh for We Live in Time. We're now in my top 5. She's my 5th place spot. So this would be who I would have nominated for the Oscar this year. Florence Pugh, I think Demi Moore has the single greatest scene of the year in The Substance, but Florence Pugh had the gut punch of the year for me. And that's why she's so high. If you're like, wow, Florence Pugh's really high on your list. She's above Mikey Madison and Cynthia Erivo. Yeah, man, I've seen this movie twice, and even the second time, I knew she was going to say it, and I knew that scene was coming, and it's still the closest I got to tears in 2024 was We Live in Time. There's a scene that Florence Pugh has with Andrew Garfield, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, where she's in this cooking competition, and he kind of comes at her, for wasting her precious little time on that, and when she explains, and she's so good, and I'm feeling it now, I'm just getting chills, like, remembering it, just talking about it. She's so good at it. It was such I get moved every single time I see that scene, and it's, blind, getting it through audio description, but I'm getting it through her line delivery. It's the way she says it. It's like the perfect take, that one, you get that one shot to fully land it. And I thought that was the knockout of the year in terms of a moment, of a scene from a movie where I was just like, holy fuck, damn. And that scene has been with me all year long. I wish more people loved We Live in Time, and it had just gone just a little bit further through awards season. A24 had a lot of movies that they were pushing, but it's a good movie. Please check it out. I have both Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh on their lists where they deserve to be. So, moving up the list, Pamela Anderson for The Last Showgirl. I'm absolutely doing this. She deserves to be here. A lot of times when I talk about actresses and I'm like, this person, we should nominate this person, it's all about if we nominate the person at the right time. Instead of just throwing nominations at people who are like good actresses and like filling out the ballot, which I'm so glad we didn't do this year, because we could have just put our Oscar ballot could have been Angelina Jolie for Maria, Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl, Kate Winslet for Lead, Julianne Moore for The Room Next Door, Amy Adams for Night Bitch. And like, all 5 of those are great actresses. None of those were their best performances. It's one of those things where you look back later on, and be like, was that the best win for them? Was that the best nomination for them? You could I could take that nomination away. I think there are some other performances that are going to hold up better. And there's one thing that holds absolutely true about Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl. She is at her career best. And she's not a breakthrough performer either. She's been around long enough that you can't call this a breakthrough. So she has grown to this moment. She has worked since the 90s to get to this point in her acting career, to work with a director, with a script, with everything that lined up perfectly for her in a way that would actually showcase her as an actress, as a serious actress, which if you've read any story about Pamela or seen any of the many things that she's ever made, that's all she ever really wanted, was to be taken seriously. At a certain point, she was begging for lines in Baywatch. She was begging to do things. She was like, please, God, I'm tired of just being boobs. Can I please do something else? And then she gets film roles, and it's like Barbed Wire. What's she required to do in Barbed Wire? Be hot. That's what she's required to do. Nobody's really ever asked her to do anything substantial. Nobody's ever really pushed her in a direction. Everybody just sort of was like, well, she can't. She's bad on Baywatch, so that must define her. Or I didn't like Barbed Wire. Did you think maybe the projects were kind of, did anybody on Baywatch deserve an Oscar? Like, was that like a breeding ground for, I mean, come on, you know? Um, I just think we were, like, nobody was ever really realistic about her potential and like what she could bring to a role. Nobody ever challenged her. And then finally, as an adult, she's able to challenge herself. You know, she goes off to Broadway and she gets in the run of Chicago, and then she does this. And it's clear she's tired of being seen as just that airhead from Baywatch. And I think she's great in this. And I think she makes the movie. I think a different actress wouldn't have made any sense. And I think the fact that it's Pamela Anderson makes The Last Showgirl even a better movie than it is. So I'm sad that she wasn't nominated for an Oscar. I knew they were going to gatekeep for this from her. I knew they were going to gatekeep this. I was kind of hoping, you know, when she got the SAG nomination, I was like, she got recognized by her peers? I didn't expect that. And then I started giving myself hope. I was like, maybe this is actually going to happen for her. And it didn't. And I should have known better. I knew the Oscars, they're too snobbish to have nominated Pamela Anderson. But hopefully, if nothing else, this leads to more fantastic roles and opportunities for Pamela in the future. And if you're somebody who scoffs at this performance, but you liked, the fuck is his name from Red Rocket? Simon Rex. If you like Simon Rex and Red Rocket, you're just a hypocrite. You're just somebody, it's the same thing. You know, Sean Baker found an actor that nobody had expected could possibly do anything, and then we just threw awards at him all season long. It's the same thing. I mean, Simon Rex had not done a single thing or ever been asked to do a single thing remotely close to Red Rocket before. And then Sean Baker was like, hey, dude, do you want to do something a little bit more serious? I think you'd be good in it. And then lo and behold, people were like, wow, Simon Rex can act? Holy shit. So both of these performances are like watching a baby walk for the first time. But I see a couple people who are just like, Pamela Anderson. Was just playing a showgirl. I was like, Simon Rex is playing a porn star. Like, what are you doing? Like come on now. Nobody had a problem with Red Rocket. Anyway, moving up the list. Number 3, and I'm sorry, but this is just because my number 1 and 2, we'll get there. My number 3 is Demi Moore for The Substance. I love my top 3. Like I actually love all these actresses, but this gets really hard for me as I get closer and closer to the top. I love Demi Moore. Like I said, she has the moment of the year, the scene that I'll remember, the scene that everybody's talking about. She's going out for a date and she just sort of second guesses everything about herself. It's so relatable. It's the reason why she's at the Oscars. It's the reason why she was always going to be at the Oscars. Even once people accepted the fact that Substance was a real thing, I had a feeling that at least Demi would get in, because people, at least you could show them that scene. If they had an aversion to gore, all you had to do was get them to watch that scene, and enough people would. She's never been nominated. Her narrative is so strong that even if you can't watch the rest of The Substance, just watch that scene, you know, and you'll be good. I know it's what they're gonna play. By the way, let's be honest. Like, that's got to be what they're gonna play. Is from that scene in when they get to the Oscars and they're going through the actresses. It's gonna be that scene. But yeah, I thought she's phenomenal in The Substance. She's just not my number 1, but I'm so happy for her, and I love this performance. And The Substance, I've seen it twice. It's been on several of my lists. It's been on Best Horror, it's been on Best Director, it's been on Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Original Score this year. And I will say that it has already won 2 categories. So 2 of those lists it's won. You just have to figure out which ones. So Moving up the list to my number 2 pick, my runner-up of the year is Lily Gladstone for Fancy Dance. And honestly, I think I'm the only person who saw this movie, and I'm fine with that. If you didn't notice earlier when I mentioned that a couple years ago I picked Dale Dickey for Love Song instead of, I believe that was Michelle Yeoh's year for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I picked Dale Dickey for Love Song. I like going with films regardless. I care not whether or not you've seen it or anybody's seen it or critics have seen it or whatever. I think Lily Gladstone in Fancy Dance is better than she was in Killers of the Flower Moon. I think we got to see more from her this year between Under the Bridge and Fancy Dance. I guess Jazzy. And she's clearly more of an actress than Martin Scorsese ever gave her credit for. The problem is that Scorsese doesn't direct females. He doesn't direct women, like female leads. He directs male leads. So he gave that film to DiCaprio and not to Lily Gladstone. I always felt like her performance was secondary to DiCaprio. She could have even been in supporting actress, and I don't even think people would have noticed. And the fact that there were so many white people in that cast, when you looked at the SAG Ensemble nomination for it, there were like almost no Indigenous nominees for a movie that's about Indigenous, people. The whole thing just felt weird for me all year long. Just the approach to it. He's a fantastic director. I liked Killers of the Flower Moon, but you can't look at that film and go, there isn't a better way to do this. And then Lily Gladstone shows up a year later with a feature directorial debut from Erica Tremblay. And yeah, it kind of died on Apple Plus. I have yet to find a real life person, not just like a review online, of somebody who's seen Fancy Dance. And I don't know, she was excellent. She's trying to find her lost sister. Her sister's been missing, and she's been taking care of her niece. There are some problems with that because she has a little bit of a history, and sort of a petition to try to take away, like, is she allowed to be a guardian, and sort of the fight for that to try to keep them together, and the promises about trying to find her mother and what may have happened to her mother. And it taps into all of the things about how Native American women go missing at exponential rates. It's a great movie. And Lily Gladstone carries the whole damn thing on her back. I mean, she is the central character. She doesn't have to share the scenes with a white man. She shares it with a little girl the whole movie, like a little Indigenous girl the whole movie. Like it's her and her niece are like carrying the movie. And it's a beautiful story, and I hope more people see Fancy Dance. And she was at the top of my list. This movie came out in June. She was at the top of my list all the way until I saw a certain performance, and my winner that just came in and screamed at me, slapped me in the face, made fun of me, just berated me, made me feel all sorts of different emotions. I felt sad, happy, laughed, angry, all different. I mean, this is running the gamut. Absolutely should have been nominated for an Academy Award this year. And if you're picking up on who I haven't said this year, you're probably thinking to yourself, either he didn't see the movie. I've seen over 450 movies. If you think I haven't seen Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Hard Truths, you're not giving me enough credit, because I have, and she is my pick for Best Actress of 2024. Fucking love that performance. I think she's exceptional in Hard Truths. I think she is what a comeback. I think every single person who is talking about the Oscars who said, I don't know, but it's Bleecker Street. Well, we just proved how true that is, because the fact that you couldn't get this performance across the finish line scares me. Like, it's a performance that pretty much every single critic, even if they didn't like Hard Truths, liked. This film couldn't get into Venice. Like, this is one of those things where people, like, I don't know why people don't like Hard Truths as a movie. Like, I don't get that, but you can talk about the movie aspect of it as all you want. I don't know how you can't look at what Marianne Jean-Baptiste and see that what she's doing isn't, like, dynamic as fuck. It's all over the place. She's showing you her pain. She's showing you her anger. She's so unlikable at some times. She has such scathing comments to some people that you're like, thank God that's not me. Sometimes you laugh, sometimes you cringe, sometimes you feel, but man, it makes you feel the whole movie. It's a nonstop, uh, just ball buster of a performance. And I'm convinced the only reason she wasn't nominated anywhere is because those people didn't see Hard Truths, that they didn't get the screener, they didn't care enough to watch it. I don't think anybody who's seen Hard Truths could have possibly left her out of like any sort of top, however many nominees they were allowed to have, slots. I just don't see that. I don't think, and especially listening to other people review it and, people predicting, it seems like everybody who liked it universally was like, even if it gets no other nominations, Marianne Jean-Baptiste was great. She didn't get into the Globes. She didn't get in SAG. She didn't get in the Oscars. She just... poor woman. All season long. But I love you, Marianne. And you were absolutely my best actress of the year. And can I just say, I'm just going to take a moment here. And this is not why I picked her, because I would have picked anybody in this fucking category. I don't care. I didn't pick it. These aren't real awards. Nobody's looking at me historically to be like, oh, did you have enough diversity in his awards? I don't care. Wouldn't have been fucking great if we had actually had a Black actress winner this year. And if we had had Marianne Jean-Baptiste, somebody who's previously been nominated for an Academy Award, or even Cynthia Erivo, I guess she could still do it. We actually had a chance here. If we had put this up and more people had watched Hard Truths, we finally would have somebody other than Halle Berry. We have one. Every time somebody asks me, should the Oscars be gender neutral, I go, do you know that there's never been a female cinematographer winner in 96 years of the Academy Awards? There's your gender neutral category and what happens with it. Did you know? Like, do you see how few female directors have won in director? Did you know we still have only one Black actress that is one lead actress in 96 years, and you want to combine the categories because you think somehow that people are going to do the right thing and somehow it's going to work out. It'll just magically be perfect. I'm sorry, but this voting branch does not exude that level of confidence in me. So while we're still breaking barriers and people like Michelle Yeoh are this late in the game becoming the first Asian American actress to win an Oscar, I think maybe we're still a good 10 years away from gender neutral Oscars. That's my hot take on that. I don't think we're there yet. So it's, please watch Hard Truths. It's in theaters. It'll eventually be on VOD and streaming, but fuck, man, we could have gotten it this year, and it would have been a great win too. Would have been the one that we look back on and was like, that's a great fucking performance. Although I'm so happy for Demi. Like, basically, considering my number one, number two aren't nominated, I'm saying my vote for Best Actress at the Oscars is Demi Moore for The Substance. So, but also, she really just needed the nomination because she'd never been nominated before. Marianne has been nominated before for Secrets and Lies in the 90s. So this would have been a second trip for her and a comeback. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.